Good day everyone! Today we will tackle about some ecological researchers under the subject of Site 202 Ecology and Education. So, why write a research paper about ecology? My answer is why not? Meron ako isang kaibigan na parehas kaming major physical science pero ma-ed students din siya, magkaiba lang po kami ng schools. Nauna siyang mag-aral sa akin at nung ipinakita niya sa akin yung thesis niya, nabigla ako kasi yung research niya is about algae, the number of algae in some rivers in Sipocot. So, hindi ko naman siya natanong na kung bakit yun, hindi na ako nagtanong na kung bakit ganun. So, ang na-realize ko is, pwede palang gumawa ng research paper about ecology ang science major. So, kahit anong major mo, mag-physics, chemistry, or biology mo yan, pwede kang gumawa ng research paper about ecology. So, why not? Why write a research paper about ecology? Bakit naman hindi? Science major naman tayo. That is the advantage of being a science major. Disclaimer lang po, these research papers are not mine. Credit to the rightful authors, to the rightful researchers, to the rightful journals, and to the rightful publishing site po. Our first research is about environmental awareness and practices of science students, input for ecological management plan. So, this is a thesis coming from Sir Danilo V. Rogayan Jr. and Ma'am Evian Elionda D. Nebreda from President Ramon Magsaysay State University, Zambales, Philippines. So, sa Philippines po ito. This descriptive correlational study sought to measure the level of awareness and practices of 100 science students in a public secondary school in Zambales, Philippines. This study looked into the environmental awareness and practices of grade 9 science students as an input in crafting a proposed ecological management plan. So, ito pong dalawang researchers is ginawa itong thesis na to para po makapag-create ng ecological management plan for the next school year. Kaya po grade 9 students, grade 9 science students ang kinuha nilang respondents. Para pagdating po ng grade 10 is magawa na nila yung ecological management plan based po sa result ng kanilang research na ito. So the framework of the study is anchored on the National Environmental Awareness and Education Act of 2008, otherwise known as Republic Act 9512. According to Republic Act 9512, Section 2, consistent with the policy of the state to protect and advance the right of the people to a balanced and healthy ecology in accord with the rhythm and harmony of nature, and in recognition of the vital role of the youth in nation building and the role of education to foster patriotism and nationalism, accelerate social progress, and promote total human liberation and development. The state shall promote national awareness on the role of natural resources in economic growth and the importance of environmental conservation and ecological balance towards sustained national development. So, it is grateful that we have this Republic Act in the Philippines to conserve and preserve and to have a healthful ecology. So, the objectives of the study, this study aimed to find out the relationship between environmental awareness and practices of science students in a public secondary school in Zambales, Philippines for the school year 2016 to 2017 as input for ecological management plan. So, this research is an input po nila, ang output po nila is the ecological management plan. So the research design, so this study utilized a descriptive correlational research which sought to find the relationship of the respondents and environmental awareness and environmental practices through the survey questionnaire. The study used simple random sampling technique. Grade 9 students were chosen as they are already immersed with the school setting and can still have one school year to participate in the activities included in the proposed ecological management plan. So, as I've said a while ago, grade 9 po yung pinilit kasi may grade 10, may isang taon pa sila sa junior high school para magawa po nila yung proposed ecological management plan. Nagagawin nila based po sa result ng research na ito. So, the instrument used in order to gather the data on the environmental awareness and practices among the grade 9 students, the researchers used a researcher-made survey question with an overall Cronbach alpha value of 0.92. The instrument measured the students' awareness of environmental concepts and the state of environment. Part 1, Awareness of environmental issues and problems. Part 2, Practices on the needs to take actions to solve environmental problems. That is the Part 3. And Practices on a high degree of commitment. That is the Part 4. The instrument was content and construct validated and undergone a reliability test. A focus group discussion or FGD guide which contains semi-structured questions was likewise used. So, every survey questionnaire naman po is needed a reliability test. Let's come now to the data gathering procedure. The researchers secured approval from the school principal to conduct the study. So, every research naman, every data gathering naman po, we need to secure approval from the authorities or from the immediate head of the school. For ethical considerations, parental consent was secured to ensure the protection of the respondents since they are minors. This is also very important, the protection of the respondents. Upon approval, survey questionnaires were distributed to the respondents. The respondents were given 10 to 15 minutes to respond, and then the researchers collected all the accomplished survey questionnaires on the same day. Select respondents were asked for a focus group discussion to validate the findings obtained from the survey questionnaires. The researchers also conducted participant observation and documentary analysis on the environmental practices of the students. So, after the students were given the survey questionnaire, nagkaroon pa po sila ng focus group discussion. So, selected respondents na lang po yun. To validate yung findings nila na nakuha sa survey questionnaires. Results and discussion. So, ito pong research na ito is parang, ang ginamit nila is Likert scale. Yung, para po siyang Likert scale. Yung gaano sila ka-aware sa isyong ito, yung para pong ganun. Na may ratings na 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ganun po. So, let's have this part 1 of their survey questionnaire and also the results. For example, number 1, Agenda 21 is a plan of the United Nations in which large developing countries promise to develop their industries with an eye toward protecting the environment. So, kinuha po yung mean, yung standard deviation. Ang VD po, ito po siya. May legend po tayo. Pag HA, highly aware, 4.5 to 5.0. VA, very aware, that is 3.5 to 4.49. Moderately aware, MA, 2.50 to 3.49. Slightly aware, SA, 1.50 to 2.49. Totally unaware, 1.0 to 1.49. So, ganun po siya. Let's try number 7. Acid rain is a form of air pollution in which airborne acids produced by electricity, utility plants, and other sources fall to earth in distant regions. So, the students are very aware that acid rains is a form of air pollutants. Yung number 1 sa kanila, is very aware. The ozone layer of the atmosphere protects life on Earth by absorbing harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun. Yung pinakalas naman po is MA, moderately aware. There is only 1% of all the water in the world that is available for drinking. So, hindi sila aware doon. The truth is, 1% lang naman po yung mga fresh water or the drinkable water po. Next, this is the proposed ecological. So, pagkatapos po nilang makuha yung mean, ma-analyze, ma-interpret, this is now the proposed ecological management plan. The proposed ecological management plan was crafted based from the survey results. The authentic activities included were based from the least weighted means obtained from the survey. Specific objectives to develop localized indigenized information and education, localized indigenized information, education and communication or IEC, materials on environmental education. Activity title, Project EIC Eco Material, an EIC Material Production Project. Persons involved, teachers, students, DNR, LGUs, NGOs. May duration na rin po, June to July. Expected outcome, develop IEC Eco Materials Research Output. Next, objective, to educate the students on the current and future situations of the environment. Activity title, Project Ecological, a film viewing activity with interactive lecture and film processing. Persons involved, teachers, students, resource persons. Duration, August to September. Expected output, attendance sheet of participants, monthly monitoring report, evaluation. So the conclusion, the study concluded that the science students are very aware of the environmental concepts and states of the environment and environmental issues and problems. The respondents often practice the need to take actions to solve environmental problems, while they sometimes practice the need to possess a high degree of commitment. There is a significant high positive relationship between environmental awareness and environmental practices. There are significant relationships among the variables of environmental awareness and environmental practices. There are varied authentic activities included in the proposed ecological management plan. The crafted ecological management plan is recommended for implementation to increase the degree of commitment of students toward ecological conservation. So that's the conclusion of our first research paper. Let's come now to the second research paper entitled Towards Forest Landscape Restoration Programs in the Philippines, Evidence from Log Forest and Mixed Species Plantations. Authors, Risa Karen Veridiano, Jobs Michael Schroeder, Renizita Combe, Angelica Baldos, and Joan Gonzer. So, these authors came from Hamburg, Germany, and other authors came from Visayas State University, Baybay City, Philippines. In this study, we assess how the so-called rainforestation approach attempts to implement close-to-nature restoration strategies in humid tropic areas. One of the main objectives of the rainforestation approach as the form of a mixed species plantation is the rehabilitation of structural and floristic integrity similar to natural conditions. So, this research paper naman po is parang nag-i-integrate lang po sila ng isang concept or ng isang practice para po sa preserving and restoration of our forests here in the Philippines. So, one of the approach is the rainforestation. That is an example of deforestation. Kaya po, deforestation and illegal logging. Kaya po, ginagawa itong mga research na to para mabawasan at may restore muli ang ating forest po dito sa Philippines. Another example po, So, nagde-deforestation tayo dahil ginagamit po natin ang punong kahoy, or may mining industry po dyan sa mga forest na iyan. Marami pong mga corporation na mga entitled para sa mga forest na yan, pero hindi po nila alam ang negative effect nung mga ginagawa nila sa ating kalikasan. The underlying framework used for the study is the Forest Transition Theory, or the FTT. The term was coined by Alexander Mather in 1919, described as the shift from a prolonged decline to a partial recovery in the extent of the forest. Recovery of the forest, or the restoration of the forest po yung pinaka-objective ng ating research paper. Studies suggest that the forest transition from a net reduction to net expansion has been observed in many tropical countries. Other environmental services, example given, accumulation of above-ground biomass, soil infiltration, and recovery of species richness associated with forests have been documented to be affected positively by net forest cover expansion. The Philippines have been experiencing the prolonged decline phase of the forest transition theory, as evidenced in increasing deforestation rates in the country. However, various reforestation initiatives have been implemented in the country since the early 1990s to prevent further deforestation and transition into the other branches of FTT, which reflects partial net forest gain. With the current forest transition trend, the Philippines is experiencing, alongside its international commitments related to halting emissions, preserving the remaining biodiversity, and addressing sustainable development goals, the country provides a good example of how to achieve increased net forest cover without neglecting forest and biodiversity conservation. A unique restoration program in the Philippines is the Rainforestation Approach, as a form of a mixed species plantation. The Rainforestation Approach comprises the planting of native tree species together with fruit trees in a system that mimics previous natural conditions. The approach was based on the hypothesis that a farming system in the humid tropics is increasingly more sustainable the closer it is in its species composition to the original local rainforest. So, rainforestation was designed in 1992, involving 28 small-scale plantation owners in Leyte Island, Eastern Visayas. One of the more recognizable features of this approach is the use of native species to resemble that of the previous natural conditions. The practice of rainforestation focuses on biodiversity by specifically planting native tree species found in nearby forests. The approach was predicted on this rationale to achieve not only economic restoration but also to address ecological restoration in the long term. So, this rainforestation approach, tinetest po ito. Actually, natest na po ito kasi lang po, syempre, kailangan ng maraming test para ma-validate po itong rainforestation approach. Objectives of the study that needs to answer the following questions. To what extent are rainforestation-derived use potential identified? Example, carbon sequestration, tree diversity, and volume comparable to those of natural forests. So, the second question, what are the implications of continuously implementing the rainforestation approach and continuing the logging ban in natural forests for addressing conservation, sustainable forest management, and restoration efforts in this region of the Philippines? So in the first question, carbon sequestration, tree diversity, and volume. So, lahat po yan dito sa research paper na ito is gagawa ng data gathering. Actually po, ito pong research paper, nagsimula po itong data gathering around 2011. Tapos natapos po siya around 2016. And na-publish po siya 2019. So, the methodology used, 3 sites were used for this study. The first site was established by the Gozell Fund for International Minerbat, or the GIZ. GIS established the plots as part of the baseline information on a demonstration site for a project on reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, or the REDD, in Leyte and southern Leyte provinces. In this study, the inventory plots established by GIS are referred to as log forest or the temporary plots. The second site is the 1 hectare Silago Forest Dynamics plot located in Mount Nacolod, Silago, southern Leyte, referred to as log forest or the permanent research plot. So, yung first site po is, the term kasi yung ginamit nila is log forest din, pero temporary plots. Yung second site naman po is log forest din, pero permanent research plot. So, para hindi po tayo malito, first site is temporary plot, second site is permanent research plot. Yung third site naman po is composed of the oldest rainforestation areas in the Philippines, located on Leyte Island and administered by the Visayas State University. We refer to these rainforestation sites as mixed species plantations. So, yung first site po is temporary plots, second site is permanent research plot, and the third site is mixed species plantations, which is the rainforestation site. So, yun na po. Yung triangle po, yun po yung rainforestation site, mixed species plantation. Yung bilog naman po is the first site, temporary plot. And yung second site po is yung ito po, yung may bilog na may cross sa gitna. Permanent research plot. Isa lang po pala po kasi siya. Kaya siya ganito. Ito mga bilog, temporary plot. Tapos ito mga triangle po. Sa Leyte lang po ito. Triangle po is the rainforestation site. Normality of distribution was tested for the three sets of forest inventory data to ensure the most suitable statistical analysis for the data sets. Each tree identified that is greater than or equal to 10 cm DBH or diameter at breast height was used to derive basal area, dry biomass, and carbon. And volume, merchantable equation, and total volume. So, what is this DBH po? Yung DBH po kasi, diameter at breast height. Basal area is the cross-sectional area of a tree measured at diameter at breast height or 1.3 meter above ground and is one of the common parameters measured in forest management. Basal areas of trees, basal areas of all trees greater than or equal to 10 cm in DBH were calculated and the standard basal area was calculated from the sum of all individual tree basal areas found in the plots and converted into per hectare value. So, dry biomass content was calculated for all trees greater than or equal to 10 cm using Chavez equation. So, this is the Chavez equation where Y above ground dry biomass and the wood density, the DBH in centimeter, and the total height. Chavez equation was used to do the lack of existing country-specific allometric equation in the country. To estimate biomass and due to the robustness of this equation based on various biomass and carbon estimation studies. Subsequently, carbon values were calculated as 50% of the dry biomass. Volume of trees was calculated using the following equations. So, may mga mathematical equations po tayong ginagamit para sa pagkuha ng mga data from the trees in the three different sites po. And as I've said a while ago, from 2011 to 2016 po itong research paper na to. Ang pagkuha ng data gathering po is from 2011 to 2016. Kaya medyo makonsumo po talaga sa time ang ecological research. Depende po sa inyong objective. So, results, a total of 5,874 individuals belonging to 259 tree species, 10 cm diameter at breast height, and 57 plant families and 57 plant families were measured across all study sites. In terms of tree species extent of distribution in the study sites, the permanent research plot has the highest percentage of endemic species. Endemic species means that the trees is found only in the Philippines, followed by the mixed species plantations and the temporary plots. Researchers said that their results indicate that restoration initiatives like that of the rainforestation approach in the form of mixed species plantation timber potential and consequently show good potential as a tool for landscape restoration, while natural regeneration is a potential option for restoration. It will take longer to attain previous conditions. Hence, the need to provide multiple forest ecosystem services adds to the urgency to implement alternative strategies for reforestation. The rainforestation approach fills this gap, at least in the case of the Philippines, as it addresses both the ecological, economic, and aspects of reforestation. This makes it a suitable tool for multi-purpose aims, especially for forest landscape restoration, in combination with the national legislation that aims to reforest over 1.5 million hectares of land. The rainforestation approach provides important forest ecosystem services over a relatively short span of time, approximately 2 decades. It should also be noted that rainforestation also cannot address the problem of restoring all the deforested and degraded lands in the country. Additional reforestation strategies can still be implemented that would complement the use of the rainforestation approach. Our results indicate that rainforestation cannot yet replace many functions of formerly logged natural forests. It will be hard, if not impossible, to reach the conservation value of old-growth forests. So the results suggest that the log forest of Leyte can have relatively fast recovery of structural integrity, but a larger network of permanent plots and consistent data collection and monitoring are necessary to allow generalization. Their results indicate that natural forests in areas without strong anthropogenic pressure can fulfill aims for both conservation and purposes and timber provision in the near future, depending on the national policy regimes. Further challenges are related to monitoring both the natural and rainforestation areas to further gain robust information on the differences and similarities in terms of species composition, forest functions, and provision of forest ecosystem services over time. So let's come now to the third ecological researchers, entitled Preparing for the Future, Integrating Spatial Ecology into Ecosystem-Based Management. So this is from ICES Journal of Marine Science. ICES means International Council for the Exploration of the Sea. Authored by Susan K. Lower Barbire, Ignacio A. Catalan, Andres Frugard Opdal, and Christian Jorgensen. From Fisheries and Aquatic Science Program, School of Forest Resources Conservation, University of Florida, Gainesville, USA. Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, Florida Fish and Wildlife Research Institute, St. Petersburg, USA. And from Institute Mediterranean de Estudios Avancas from Spain. So, we use spatial ecology as an umbrella term. So, parang itong research paper naman ito, kung kanina, ang ginamit na approach is rainforestation approach dun sa log forest, sa mga sites. Ito naman po, spatial ecology in marine ecosystem. We use spatial ecology as an umbrella term to include the subfields studying these processes, including biogeography, seascape ecology, movement ecology, ocean connectivity, and spatial management to protect marine biodiversity. So, ang tawag doon is spatial ecology. Spatial ecology is complex, integrating spatial, temporal, and biological processes over multiple scales. At the most basic level, it is driven by heterogeneity in ecological context made up of multiple layers including fairly static topography or habitat, dynamic oceanographic processes including variation and trends in temperature, salinity fronts, and movement ecology of animals and fisheries. Plugging spatial ecology into ecosystem-based management or EBM, we conduct an informal horizon scan with leaders in EBM research to identify 3 rapidly evolving areas that will be game changers in integrating spatial ecology into EBM. These are: number 1, new data streams including data from fishers participating in data acquisition and citizen science, the genomics revolution, and improved technology with a focus on remote sensing and biologging. Number 2, improved theoretical computing and modeling power with increased access to big data and artificial intelligence. Number 3, better integration of social dimensions into management, including economic stakeholder engagement, education, the public, or educating the public about the importance of marine ecosystem functionality. So, this research paper is a review of big seminars, big proposals about marine ecosystem. They have a target year to become fully equipped of these 3 game changers. So we have new data streams. Number 2, improve theoretical computing and modeling power. Number 3, better integration of social dimensions into management. So the researchers said that we address each of these areas below. First, imagining the future, citing science that we feel is planting the seeds for this future, and highlighting emerging efforts that will help us get there. So, ocean use management. So, by the year 2038, that is the target year of the researchers. So, drivers, ecological heterogeneity, including topography, species interaction, fishing, and global change, sociological and gene-environmental interactions, energetics, behavior, and spatially explicit effects on reproductive success, scale, spatial submeter to global, temporal, seconds to evolutionary, biological, genes to ecosystem. So from current, maximize single species sustainable yield, to future, optimize food security and ecosystem services. From current, maximize sustainable yield of all species in an ecosystem. To the future, preserve resilience and biodiversity. So this is now the potential game changers. Ito may sinabi ko sa inyo. First, new data streams. Second, computing and conceptual advances. Third, social dimension and management. So under these new data streams, marine vessels and fishing industry, genomics and remote sensing and tracking. Under computing and conceptual advances, big data, AI, RD, artificial intelligence and modeling. Social dimensions and management, stakeholders engagement, economics and ecosystem functionality and service transfers. So, figure 1, drivers, processes, and scales critical to understanding spatial ecology are projection of how this understanding will be used as future management goals evolve, and potential game changers that will help plug new understanding of spatial ecology into EBM, or the ecosystem-based management. So they said that oceans cover more than half of our planet, providing habitat for a huge diversity of life, as well as affecting global climate, ecosystem processes, and services. However, monitoring the status and trends of component species and protecting diversity and ecosystems are challenging, given that they are all underwater and often far from human habitation. Rapid technological advances and improved computing modeling power are increasing our understanding of marine spatial ecology, as well as the capacity for ocean industrialization during a time of ocean change. Each article in this theme set highlighted at least one spatial process with important implications for current fisheries management, including improved estimates of abundance structures, shifting distributions, and spawner recruit dynamics. So this research paper po is not actually a research paper. It is a review paper. So they reviewed articles, research papers in one big event about marine ecosystem-based management, and they analyze, criticize those articles, and make a review. So this is just a review, kaya po wala siyang methodology. In-analyze lang po nila, criticize, ito po yung naging results nila. The articles take together cover a range of spatial processes, species, and management areas, all of which are critical to understanding spatial resilience and integrating spatial ecology with EBM. So based on that articles, nakagawa po sila ng Target Ocean Management Plan. So based on the articles po, nakagawa po sila ng Target Ocean Use Management. Ito po itong spatial theory by the year of 2038. To help promote forward thinking in this time of rapid change, we have presented them within the context of future needs and fields we can learn from. Many of the processes that we studied do not have short-term feedback loops that affect the average person or the average citizen. Yet the long-term consequences will. Improving knowledge transfer and the need for evidence-based management decisions entails greater engagement with stakeholders and the public. Science institutions must find a way to communicate abstract, complex ideas in ways people can recognize as affecting their quality of life and well-being. This entails using behavioral science to develop communication channels that can change value systems and more closely tie human health to the planet's health. The researchers said that a useful first step is reflecting on our own scientific social systems and how open they are to change. For new fields and methodologies to emerge, it is not realistic to expect first attempts to outperform established methods. These attempts, however, show the seeds for future methods and paradigms. With this in mind, we would like to acknowledge that this theme set owes thanks to all of the participants in the symposium on spatial ecology and sustainable fisheries at the 2017 ICES Annual Science Conference, as well as to the scientists who submitted manuscripts to this theme set that were not accepted. We learned from all of you. So, ito na po yung big seminars nila na nangyari noong 2017 Annual Science Conference. So, I hope you learned a lot from those 3 ecological researches. At least we have the idea of how to make a research paper about ecology. Thank you for listening.